Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And I think I have a pretty good program for you this morning. I can see the camera's tilted a little high. I'm going to tilt it down just a little bit to see the mandolin more. This is the auction mandolin. If you're not aware, we do have an auction going on my website, rosastringworks.com. And you click on the shopping page and the items at the bottom are up for auction. So I thought I'd start off with a little song that I wrote many years ago, back in about 1989. And I've been told many times, don't sing this song without telling the story behind it. So I'll tell you the quick story, or as short as I can tell it. And that is that in August of '89, my grandfather, Arnold Sconce, passed away. And 1 month to the day after he died, my grandma called me, which she had never done before. And when she called me, it startled me a little bit. And she asked me to come to her house. And when I got there, she gave me his old fiddle. Well, of course, I was real happy to have that. And then 1 month to the day after that, then somehow in the middle of the night, I wrote this song. And I say somehow because I don't really remember doing it. The next morning when I woke up, I lay there thinking, did I write a song last night, or did I dream I wrote a song last night? And the truth is, I wasn't really sure. So I got up and I started walking through the house looking for a song, and I didn't see anything laying around anywhere in my usual places. Walked all the way through the house, then turned around and started to head back toward the bedroom to get ready for work, you know. And anyway, on the way back, I found the song laying on the dining room table of all things, which, you know, we never use the dining room table. It's only used at special occasions. So anyway, here's the song. It's called Grandpa's Old Fiddle. An old battered cave, weathered and worn, with the hinges all rusted and the fabric all torn, but still cradled inside was one old precious thing. It was Grandpa's old fiddle. Oh, how sweetly it rang. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melody, and he played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. He was the most honest man that I ever have seen, and his time on this old earth was most precious to me. He lived on the current river at the mouth of Blue Springs, and at night the hills echoed as his old fiddle would ring. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melody, and he played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. I was just a boy at the time, but I remember a day when Grandpa and the old fiddle some old tunes he did play. Well, now Grandpa, he has left us for heaven above, but he left me that old fiddle, and now I play it with love. Grandpa's old fiddle played sweet melody, and he played it from his heart for my grandma and me. Wrinkled old hands, he held it with love, and I can still hear it playing up in heaven above. Yes, that old fiddle's still ringing up in heaven above. Well, I got a little distracted there. That's what happened. I'm seeing stuff on the screen that bothered me. I thought there was a problem, and then my phone started acting up, and I didn't realize, but the phone was, reading my lips, I guess. You know what I'm saying? You can talk into the phone, and it was hearing me, and it was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Oh my gosh, it's not easy being me, and it's especially not easy being me on 3 hours sleep. Yeah, I didn't fall asleep till 4 o'clock this morning, and I woke up at 10 till 6, or 10 till 7. So there you go. I put all this together since then. Sleep, it's highly overrated. Anyway, there's the mandolin. It is up for auction. Oh my goodness. When I say it's not easy being me, today is especially that way. First thing I want to do is apologize to Eddie, my loyal YouTube video watcher. He knows more about this channel than I do. He said I had 1,500 videos yesterday, and I challenged that, and I'm still questioning it, I gotta be honest, because of what I know to be true. Anyway, he said, you have 1,500 videos, and I said, well, I think there's more than that, I couldn't find it on my page. Well, it turns out you got to click on my icon. I keep forgetting to do that. I never look at that because I'm busy with all these other different things, setting up videos, uploading stuff, downloading, checking out comments, different things, and I never click on the actual logo. Well, sure enough, it says 1,500 videos. And what bothers me about that is I'm pretty sure I had that many videos more than a year ago. I'm pretty sure it said that more than a year ago. Almost positive it did. But I can't swear to that because I don't have it documented anywhere. But that's what bothers me. And, I put out 300 vlogs since then. So that's why I was saying I think it's pretty close to 2,000, Well, anyway, it says 1,500. I'm going with that. And Eddie is a smart guy, and he's the one that's got it all cataloged and everything. Anyway, if he says 1,500, it must be 1,500. All right. So anyway, so now, Eddie, you have been officially apologized to. The auction, the mandolin is still at $3,200. The Martin guitars at $1,200, I believe it is, and the Taylor Classical is at $750. I hope I wrote those down correct. Let's see. I've got a few little video clips, and at the last minute I changed it because I thought I had a clip of Sadie. In fact, I know I took a clip of Sadie, or tried to, and apparently it didn't work. I'll try to get another one today because every morning I've got this little ritual now where I'm locking her up in the building, and then I go out there and throw out 4 different deer antlers in 4 different places, and then I have her go pick them up and bring them to me. And I figure that's going to be the best way to get her out in the field looking for them, And she did pretty good yesterday. Not perfect, but pretty good. And unfortunately, I didn't get it on film. So anyway, at the last minute, I changed the title because I could have swore I had one of those videos of her, but obviously I don't. And now I changed it to, we have videos on Cedar. We have videos on burying the pipe that I had to bury yesterday, and a video on some more finds. So let's go ahead and look at burying that pipe. Here we go. I didn't show the before, but here's the after. I finished grading this ditch up to the house. I had to replace a pipe in that general area there, and I covered it back over. But I put a tin can over the pipe so that if I ever need to locate it, it's kind of a line that you would use to, clean out the pipe if it ever got clogged.
So anyway, I put a big tin can over it, and I can always find it with my metal detector if I ever need to find it again. But we cleaned all that up. I also relayed these stone in this area. Haven't swept them off yet, but I got that relayed. Now I've got to cover up this pipe all the rest of the way down here. I've already started covering it down there, as you can see, and I'm covering it with a shovel and just filling it in. It's the only way I know how to do it, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm all finished. I forgot to film the after yesterday afternoon, so I'm out here early this morning showing you what it looks like after I filled this back in. Now, with the exception of grass growing on the dirt, you can't really tell I've been here with the fiber optic pipe that runs all the way down to the shop. Beautiful morning out here. It's in the 40s. It thundered a lot last night. I could even hear it inside the man cave. Keep in mind, the man cave is inside there. It's like from that inside window there, it's another 12 or 15 feet over to where the man cave is. And then it's a log cabin on the inside, and there's another roof on the inside of that roof covering the log cabin. So, you know, it's really hard to hear anything. It had to be a lot of thunder, but we barely got any rain. I mean, you know, the ground is wet, but not real wet. We could have used the rain. Yeah, that's kind of the story. And even with only 3 hours sleep, I was out there filming that this morning. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a morning person though, so that's not too difficult for me. But I have a feeling that shortly after this vlog, I'm going to go crash and try to get some more sleep. Let's see, what's next? After the pipe there, then let's talk about sawing some more cedar. Well, I've got a log loaded on the sawmill. I wanted to show you, this is how I figured out how to stop this wheel from turning, or this handle from turning. I just stick a pin in there, and you know, I just pull it out and adjust it if I need to, but it's not that big a deal. Fairly easy fix. I could shorten the pin, that would make it more sense, but right now I'm just leaving it like it is because that's what I had. The blade's really rusty, as you can see, but that's because it's just been sitting. That's just flash rust. That'll come off on the first cut. I'm going to try to cut 1.5 inch by about 7-inch boards out of this. That'll give me about 1 inch on each side of the wheel to attach buckets. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll see how that goes. Well, I had intended on cutting a few more of these logs, but quite honestly, the wind keeps blowing it back in my face today again. It's just frustrating as heck. All that sawdust goes straight into my eyes. So anyway, here's what I got out of there. These are 4 real nice 1x8s. Well, I'm sorry, 2x8s. They're actually 1.5 inches by 8 inches, full 8 inches wide. So I got 4 of them. That'll be more than enough, I think, to surround that water wheel and give me some spare in case I have a problem. So I think, as nice as it is out here and the wind keeps blowing this stuff in my face, instead of cutting any more, I think I'm just gonna go metal detecting.
Yeah, and so I did go metal detecting. The sawmill, I got to be honest, I'm real happy with that sawmill. That thing works so good. It's amazing how good it works. And, it's only got an 18 horsepower motor on it. I would say if there's 2 things I could change, and I can't change one of them very easily, the one would be the lifting mechanism. I like the lifting mechanism I have in one sense, in that it's incredibly easy and accurate to get it, right down to the less than a 1/16 of an inch. I mean, you can get it down to a 32nd, I'm sure, on your thickness. So that part's really good. But it's slow because it's I'm using a winch to spin those screws, and it goes up and down on screws. So it's slow. It's especially slow when you got to raise it all the way back up to start a fresh log. It's not bad when you're going down. It only takes a couple seconds to adjust it when you're going down, but on the way back up, it probably, to get it all the way up to full height on your average size log, it probably takes a full minute to get it all the way up there. Maybe a little more than that even, maybe a minute and a half. So, you're waiting that whole time while it's just going up, So that part's a little slow. I'm not crazy about the design on that, but the adjustment part's really good. Well, anyway, the other thing, if I could change, I'd probably put a bigger motor on it, and, maybe down the road I will. That 18 horsepower motor, though, it really doesn't bog down very much. I think the only reason I would like to put a bigger motor on it is I think if I had a bigger motor, more power, I think I could push it through the log a little faster, because I do have to go, kind of I don't know. It's a fairly good pace, but I think it could go quite a bit faster through the log if it had a bigger, heavier motor. Well, anyway, that's the story on the Cedar. And if for those of you who are new and maybe aren't up to speed, I am building a water wheel. That's a big project. I'm in the final stages of it. I've got to build the building now, and I've got to build the water wheel itself. And the water wheel, I'm using an old manure spreader steel iron wheel as the for the axle and for the actual wheel. And then I'm going to surround that steel wheel with cedar buckets. And so that's what that wood is cut for. And the good viewer friend Leo over in the Netherlands sent me a drawing and a diagram of how to cut those pieces of cedar to surround that wheel, and to the optimum sizes that I need. And so I'll get started on that before too long. Let's see, here's the final video, and I'll show you that right now. It's about finding stuff out there with the metal detector.
Well, I'm back here in the back metal detecting, and down in the bottom of this hole there is something metal down there. I can't tell what it is yet. My guess is going to be that it is some kind of plowing equipment or, farming equipment. It's possible it's another axe. You just never know. So we'll dig it out and see what it is. Well, it wasn't a bad guess. Looks like it's another axe head. This one's got a big piece broken off of it. And I don't know how old this one is. I don't think this one's quite as old as the 1800s, but it's pretty old, and it's very used because of the way it's wore. You can see how, this probably used to come way out here. It's been ground down a lot, and of course the back end broke off of it. But there you go. You just find random stuff out here in these fields. It's crazy. Just thought
Oh, well, I'd have to show you the whole clip again. I cut it off early. What I was showing you there at the very end there was the wood that came out of here was still in there, and it was black. Probably just from the iron in this is the reason, but it kind of looked like charcoal, and it was real brittle. It wasn't powdery like charcoal, but it was brittle, and that's why that's why I'm wondering how old this is. I first thought that this was very old because it was very deep, one of the deepest axe heads I found. But it's in pretty good shape. It's not quite as rusted, and that might be the reason, because it was so deep, in the ground. Probably wasn't getting as much moisture, all the time or something. I don't know. The reason that I think this is broke off, and this is just a guess, is I found other double-bladed axe heads like this where they had used a sledgehammer and hit the blade on the other side to drive it through the log when they were splitting firewood or whatever they were splitting, and they would actually, so this the one side of the double-bladed axe wasn't usable as an axe because they had been hitting it with a sledgehammer. So I have a feeling they may have done that same thing with this one, and this one was maybe a higher grade steel, and it just shattered. It's possible is what could have caused that. I don't really know, but I can tell you this axe was used a lot because it's really wore off of here. This, and this side here is pretty short compared to this side. This side's at least a half-inch longer than this side is from the wear, So anyway, they used it a lot, I'm probably betting that this is at least 1900, if not earlier than that. It's pretty old. And I found some other random bits. This one was one of the first things I found yesterday. Now, I'll get it up closer where you can see it. I think I know what this is, but I don't really know what it is. I think there was something pressing down on this, and I think this kind of toggled a little bit. And I think this was the guide that held the sickle bar down. The sickle bar went like this through here, and this, I think, rode on top of the sickle bar. That's what I think. I don't really know that for sure, because it's made very similar to the modern sickle bar, I don't know, guides or whatever you want to call it. But then on the other hand, it don't quite remind me of that. So I really don't know what it is. If anybody knows for sure what that is, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. That's my best guess, is that this toggled, and I do think it toggled something, because otherwise why would you have those little nubs there? I think it toggled something. I really don't know, though. I found 5 more shotgun shell head stamps. Again, most people consider these trash, but these are all very, very old. They're all well over 100 years old, all of them. So, and you can date them, and that's why I like finding those. I can kind of date them and know, how old they are. Now, I think I found all of those before, but there's one there that I'm not sure about, so it could be that I'll have another date to go by there. Then I found just another random big bolt like this. Now, most of these that I found, and I have found quite a few of these, most of them have, you could, see that they probably just unscrewed and fell off of something. Well, this one broke off of something, I think. Although I could be wrong. It could just be a crust in there that's, it could be rock in there is what it is. Rock and rust, kind of molded together. But it almost looks like the metal broke off in there, but the more I look at it, the more it dries out, the more I think it's just rock and stuff that's caked up in there. Anyway, and then finally, the 2 best finds for me, again, they look the least, but are 2 more round balls, and they're both white. One of them's really tiny. It's hard to show on this camera, but this one here is really tiny. I'm sure this one was a pistol ball, probably, and this one could have been a squirrel rifle type ball, or, even this one is probably at least a 30 caliber, if not a 40 or 45 caliber. So it's good size, but those could be Civil War. Those are potentially Civil War. I just can't say they are for sure, because round balls, just anybody could have shot those. But anyway, that's everything about what I had today. Before I go to the comments, I'll just tell you what my plans are for today, and that is that I think I'm going to work on the martin houses today, the martin bird houses, not to be confused with the Gibson bird houses. These will be martin bird houses, and I need to clean out the ones I have and build some new ones to hopefully, be filled up by more martins coming back this year, because each year more martins come back, and this year we ought to have quite a slew of them. So I need to get another whole pole and house thing ready for that, and maybe I'll get started on that today, because that's got to be done by the end of the month anyway, because they can come back as early as the end of March. Generally around here they don't come back quite that soon, but they might. Let's see. if I get that done and I have time, I may swap my computers out. This computer here is pretty good. It's good enough for vlogging and things, but I'm planning to do recording up here. I'm planning to do, like those live shows up here from now on. And anyway, this computer's not quite good enough for all that. It's pretty good though, and I can use it. Like I said, I can still use it for vlogging, and I think I'll move it down to the shop, and because some of the vlogs will come from the shop in the future. I'm sure somebody's wondering that already. Are you ever going to go back to the shop to vlog? Well, I probably will. But anyway, and then that computer that's down there is a newer computer and much more powerful. And so I'm going to bring it up here to handle all the big stuff. So if I have time, I may do that today too, swapping out the computers. Let's go to the comments and see who and what we've got going on today. John Pepper was number 1. And Rod Wentler was number 2. Dottie is number 3. And I'm looking for question marks. Dottie has one here that says, "How are you, Rod?" Well, it was to someone else. Okay, that's fine. There's a lot of side conversations going on here, and sometimes I have trouble picking that out. Dottie says, "Hello, Jerry. How about a nice chirp this morning?" Well, that's as nice as I got, and I kind of screwed it up because I was so distracted and only 3 hours sleep. Yeah, I don't know. I've always had trouble sleeping. Even when I was a kid, I had trouble sleeping. This is not an old age thing. My whole life has been that way with sleeping. Yeah, I don't know why. I've just always had trouble. Let's see. I'm looking for question marks. This one's got my name in it, but I don't see any question marks. Thierry Hackard says, "Just here for the pleasure of hearing Jerry try to say my name." Don't tell him. Thierry sounds almost same as Jerry. Yeah, all right. Terry, maybe? I don't know. It could be Terry, but it's got a TH and IE. So you could pronounce that a lot of ways. And the thing, I got to pick on the girls for a little while now. They'll spell their name one way and pronounce it a totally different way. That's kind of been a trend over the last, 40 years. Women are doing that all the time. Well, I don't know if I should mention the one that I was thinking of. I probably shouldn't because they could possibly watch this. But anyway, there's people that do that all the time. They spell it one way and they pronounce it a different way. So your name is a perfect candidate for that. Let's see. Moving down, looking for question marks here, and I'm not seeing very many. There's a lot of comments before we went live, though. I mean, maybe as many as ever. Okay, here's one from Bill Rhodes that looks like, "Good morning, Jerry, from Warrenton, Missouri." Yep. I think I saw one from my old friend Earl Elfrink. And Earl Elfrink, he says he's from Advance, Missouri. And I remember jamming with Earl years ago. I can't remember when and where exactly, but I know we've run across each other a few times over the years. Sort of unusual town name, isn't it, Joe? I've been around Advance for 70 years. Well, wow. Earl, you got to be older than me because I'll just be 70 this year. Of course, you could have been born there, I guess. So there you go. Let's see, moving on down. Okay. After we went live, and it just scrolled way up the screen on me here, so I'm moving it back. Looking for question marks again. Still not seeing too many. Joe Everett says, oh, he's talking to Christia. Donnie Hildebrand says, "Mighty fine chirp, Jerry." Well, thank you. It's as good as it's going to get today. I can tell you that right now. Man, it's like my eyes feel real heavy right now. Thomas Armstrong, good morning. Could you explain the difference of use between large search coils and small search coils on a metal detector? Yeah, I can, and I do have a small one also. And I do like the small coil. Because I'm covering such big open ground, I'm using the big coil most of the time. But when I get into the places where it's just solid signals, I mean, just you can't even move it. I'm not kidding you when I say this. You can't move it that far without another different signal. It goes beep, 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 beep. I mean, it's beeping like that. And it's just constant. Well, when you put the smaller coil on, you have a little bit more control over that, and you can move it a little bit better. And when you get into those, and it will isolate the difference between, say, a nail and maybe a penny. I mean, you might hear it better with the small coil. The small coil generally doesn't go as deep, though I have found some really deep stuff with the small coil. But you can't cover as big an area with the small coil. So I have the big coil on there right now, but yesterday there was a place there near the house where it was just solid signals, and it was really difficult to pinpoint something, So that's the difference, is it helps you locating things in a tighter confined area, if you will. So the little coil is really helpful in that regard. Let's see. Moving on down. Chuck Heidbreder. Like to put a piece of 10-inch pipe around the clean out cut just below ground level, then cover it with stepping stone, leaving it flush with the ground. Makes it easy to access. Yeah, that's a good idea too. We've never had to access that particular pipe, so I figure just cover it over and get rid of it. Quite honestly, all these years, it's been open to air all these years. In other words, it was sticking flush with the ground, but it was open. Well, rats and everything can go down in there, and they have gone down in there. So I thought, just close it off. So all I did was I brought the pipe up just below the surface of the ground, maybe 2 inches below the surface, and I put a plastic cap over it. I didn't glue the cap on, but I put a plastic cap over it, and then I set a metal can over that. Easy to find with my metal detector, so it's not a big deal. And you don't have to see anything there. And she can cut the grass without bumping into anything. Let's see, Blair Turner. If you get around to putting up some houses for the Gibson flying in, make sure you reinforce the gourd necks as they are prone to break. Okay. All right. I haven't had that problem, but that could be a situation, I'm sure. The ones that I have now, the ones that I bought, I should say, I think they're all one piece. I don't think they'll break off very easy. The ones that I built myself, which are the ones I'm going to put up on this other one, they are in two pieces, and so I may have to think about that for those. DE says, have you seen JR's newest foal? And yeah, and I was intending to bring that up this morning, so thanks for talking about that. If you don't know, my son JR has his own channel, Homestead Horsemanship, and he's into horses, obviously, from that title, and he's also got sheep and dogs and you name it. He's pretty much got it over there, and he's got a brand new foal. And as long as I was around horses with my dad, my dad was definitely big in horses, and that's where JR gets it from. I don't remember ever seeing a foal that small. That is a really small foal from a full-size horse. But that's, I understand it's not that terribly unusual, but I haven't seen it. Never saw one that small. And but it appears to be healthy, and it appears to be doing fine, so it'll probably grow up to be a full-size horse. I don't think that the fact that it's small at birth will indicate how big it's going to get. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it'll still grow to a full size. Ben Boyd, the Martin Scout birds made it to northwest Arkansas 2 days ago. Wow, that's crazy. They don't generally get here. I mean, I've had them, believe it or not, one year I had them come as late as July, and they've built nests and raised a family when they got here in July. That was crazy. But usually they hit here around, I don't know, mid-April or late April, and maybe even May sometimes. They've definitely hit here in May also. So I'm not expecting them that early, but you never know. And this has been an exceptionally warm year, or warm spring, so maybe they will. Gotta Fly Lee says, Jerry, how do you dog down the log when you cut it? Well, I didn't show that, but I do have 2 different kinds of clamps. One of them is just a pipe clamp that swings up, and then it's got a screw, and I screw it into the side of the log. And the pipe is swinging down here like my elbow, so the pipe swings up like this, and then I screw it into the log. And this pipe can slide along another pipe, but by the fact that you're screwing it, it locks it in down here and it won't let it slide. And so it locks the log in. That's the way I do the rough logs. Once I get them squared up, I have a different kind of clamp that clamps on just the very bottom 1/4 inch of the square board. It clamps right on the very bottom edge. And that way I can saw down to 3/4 inches thick. It's pretty amazing, really, that I can saw down to a 3/4 inch thick board to be my final board, which I would say most sawmills you can't really get down that low. I think you can get down to about 1 inch on most of the really good commercial ones. But anyway, so it's a pretty decent system, and the clamping works pretty well. And I see on some channels when they get a big log on there, they don't bother clamping it sometimes. They'll just lay it up there. That don't work for me. Maybe it's because my motor isn't turning as fast. It's got more drag maybe, and that'll move that log if I don't have it clamped down. So I always clamp mine down. Let's see. Dottie says, Jerry, I have never metal detected. Does your detector show you coins before you dig? Does it make a different sound depending on the value of the metal? Yeah, it definitely does, Dottie. And does it tell you if it's a coin or not? Not really. Now, my Fisher sort of did, but not really. None of them, well, let me rephrase that. All of them will lie to you. It doesn't matter how good it is. They'll say it's one thing, and because they do have indicators on there, and you'll dig it up and it'll be something else. But once you get a lot of experience, you can listen to the tone. And just as an example, a high-pitched tone, the higher the pitch, generally the more value the target may have. So a real high-pitched tone and a real high number. My numbers on my metal detector on my 800 only go up to like 40, I think. I'm not really sure. But anyway, they go up to about 40. I never see anything at 40. I think the highest I've ever seen is 38. But anyway, so you get that number, so that's part of it, and then the high-pitched ping. Now, the trick is it's consistency. Like if you go over it one way and it ping, you hear that real high-pitched ping and a real high number, and you go back and it doesn't do that you should be suspicious right there. There's a problem. So you go ping, if it goes ping, 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 and then you go the other way, ping, 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 and it's the same ping, you can pretty much bet you got something pretty good there. Now, if it stutters at all, like it's like pitting, 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 like you go across it and it goes pitting, pitting, like it's not a pure tone, like it has a double tone, or like I said, it's not consistent, that it's, or the numbers are going up and down or anything like that, you should be suspicious. If it stays really consistent, you're pretty much got something decent. You don't know what it is even still then. You kind of get an idea, like pennies on that machine, well, they can fall a lot of different places on that machine depending on what kind of penny it is. But like an Indian head penny from the 1800s, they generally fall in the 17 number range. So if it's a 17 or whatever and it's a real solid 17, there's a good chance it could be an Indian head penny. But guess what? There's a ton of other things that fall in that particular spot also. So it's really hard to say. You never do know for sure what you're digging. You just have a good indication. But it is done with two different things. It's the sound and the number that you see. And then it's really the experience that gives you some idea, is this worth digging at all or not? Like when I dig those deep targets like that axe head, I kind of knew what I was digging. I mean, I didn't know for sure, but I knew it's going to probably be some large piece of iron. And that's one more thing that will fool you, is a large piece of iron, when you get a certain distance from it, instead of going, see, iron makes a deep sound. It goes, that's what iron sounds like typically when you're close to it. But if you get far enough away from iron, it'll go ping. So it'll hit a high note, but it's not consistent generally. So, and then if you turn on there's a button on most detectors where you can do all metal. So like I have the iron kind of discriminated out for the most part. So I'll turn on the iron, and then you hear it go, So and it'll still do some of the pinging too. It'll go, ping, ping, like that. And then you kind of know, it's probably a really deep piece of iron, and then you dig it up. Because once you get far enough away from a piece of iron, it changes its properties to the detector, and it'll give you a false reading, basically. But if you know how to interpret all that, and I do, I've been using metal detectors really since the 70s. And the reason for that is because I was into archery so big, and we were shooting at 100 meters, and I'm sorry, 90 meters, which is basically a football field. It's like this far short of a football field, I think it is. It's like 99 yards or something. Anyway, it's very close to 100 yards. So, at that distance, the least little thing you do wrong, like if you don't have your teeth together perfectly, I'm serious, it will throw your shot off and you'll miss the target. Well, if you miss the target, your arrows, those aluminum target arrows, are real skinny. They're the size of a pencil, and they just have a real fine point on them, and they'll slide under the grass, and you can't find them, and they're expensive. So a metal detector, then you go behind the target and you can find them. So I've been using a metal detector ever since then, and so I'm pretty up on metal detectors. Am I the expert's expert? Probably not, but I'm as good as your average amateur or better. So anyway, that's how it works, Dottie. More than you asked for, but you got it. The Outboard Tinkerer. Hi, Jerry. Wouldn't treats help after Sadie retrieves deer antler? Yeah, and I do give her treats too sometimes. I don't do it all the time because treats are good and bad. The animals expect it all the time, and you don't always have a treat available. So you kind of got to get them used to doing the chore without a treat. But I do use treats also. Christia Thomason, all of the derps and dings might make a funny song, the Metal Detector Blues. Yeah. Sometimes it'll drive you crazy in your headphones, especially when you get into a place like where that old house sat. Well, there's nails like crazy in the ground, and bits of all kinds of bits of stuff. It's hard to explain the country life if you've never lived it, and I have, and I've been around it my whole life. Not that we lived in this kind of a rural country setting, but we would visit that kind of a rural country setting quite often because we had relatives that lived that way. And the yards are just where you do everything. You don't they didn't have fancy garages. They didn't have, basements and stuff. You go out in the yard and you skin your rabbit, and you throw your knife down, and maybe you lose your knife into tall grass and forget it, and so you find a pocket knife, stuff like that. They just worked out in the yards all the time, and screws and nails, and maybe they were building something, and so over hundreds of years, stuff is in the ground. Trust me, it's in the ground big time, and yeah, it's amazing how much stuff. And then on farms like this, there's no telling how many different ways they ran fences over the years, and you'll find fence wire buried in the ground. And yeah, there's a lot in the ground. It's way more than you would ever think. Way more than you would ever think. And regarding these shotgun shell head stamps, I remember distinctly one of the comments when I first started finding so many, and I found hundreds of those by now, well over 100. One of the first comments, because I found such a concentrated area, the guy says, well, you haven't found the house yet. That's where, if shooting the shotgun, they would be out in the, that's out in the woods or out in the country shooting the shotgun. They're not shooting that around their house. Well, that's exactly wrong. That's exactly how the old timers did it. They would leave the shotgun laying on the front porch. They're in their easy rocking chair like this on the front porch, and a rabbit runs up in the front yard. That's dinner for tonight. Or a squirrel, comes down a tree. That's dinner, and that's how they did it. And they also used it for predators and coyotes and things. They would have a shotgun sitting by the front door pretty much all the time. And anytime they're sitting out there on the front porch, they have a shotgun sitting right there. And that's why you found the house place when you start finding just dozens and dozens of shotgun shells. And they're all concentrated in that specific area. And how do I know that for a black and white fact? Well, I know it for a black and white fact because my great grandpa did that. He had a shotgun sitting right next to it, right there, next to his chair on his front porch. And I know others did that too. You like even on the Beverly Hillbillies and stuff where they're, doing like a cliche of that. A lot of it's true. I mean, a lot of it's exactly how they lived and how they did that kind of thing. But anyway, it's interesting here for me. I mean, I don't know that most of you care about that kind of stuff, but I love history, and I love seeing how they lived back then, and I love piecing this together. The more stuff I find and the more places I find it, the more I kind of know what was going on in that spot. For instance, that house there is up on the hill above that new pond I built. Well, on the other side, to the right of it, like if I'm facing down the hill to the pond, to the right of it, there's another hill that drops off to a side valley. And in that side valley, it was a real flat spot. And I found lots and lots of garden tools in that spot. Well, what do you think they had there? I'm pretty sure they had their garden there, And so you kind of start putting it together as to how they lived and what was going on there. And by the way, on this, regarding this axe head, I've lost count. This, I'm pretty sure, is at least 12, and it might be 13 that I found. Axe heads. Do you think axes were important? 13. I mean, or 12 at least. And it might be more than that, honestly. I've lost count. I really have. Gee whiz. And most of those were found around the house with the pond. The other house, I found a couple, but I found most of them around that one back there. Now, I have found one or two others in another place or two. But I think 9 of them, maybe 10, were found around the house by the pond. Crazy. Just absolutely nuts. I mean, who would ever think you'd need that many axes, or go through that many axes? But you never know what the time span was. Was that, 50 years, or was that 100 years time span? I don't know. Let's see. Michael Peters says, don't imagine there are as much to find in the ground in places like Arizona, less populated. Yeah, you'll find that for sure. It's Yeah, and like I can go up through the woods and I might go a long ways before I hit another signal. But generally, when you hit signals up in the woods, it's generally something to do with a bullet, a shotgun shell or some shell casing or a lead bullet itself. Generally, when you find stuff up in the woods. Not 100% either. But what I would love to find is where the old road went through, because on that old map I found that was dated around 1900, or maybe it was dated 1912, I can't remember now, but something in that time frame. It showed a couple old maps that went up behind the house and up over the ridges and stuff. And I haven't really found any direct proof where those roads went. I mean, based on the map, you kind of know about where it went, but you can't really tell that there was ever a road there. And I've gone through there with a metal detector in a place or two trying to find some old remnants of things they might have dropped off of wagons and fell out of pockets while they were riding up through those roads, But I haven't really found anything definitive on that yet. Martin Nolan. Hi, Jerry. I'm looking at your clock, and it says 8:48 a.m. I'm in Dublin, Ireland, and mine says 1:48 p.m. Love your vlogs. Very interesting. Well, thanks, Martin. Yeah, that's a lot of difference in time, isn't it? It's amazing that even with the difference in time, how, in this modern age, if I could see you, you and I could be talking in real time at that distance. That's a long ways apart. And yet it's at the speed of light that we're talking to each other. It's crazy. So anyway, I guess that's going to be it, guys. I'm probably going to go right over there and take a nap. I cannot sleep laying down, as I've told you. I've got arthritis so bad in my back and spine, really since right around 2003, somewhere in there. I quit sleeping in a bed. I cannot lay down. If I do, it starts aching within just a few minutes. Fortunately, it doesn't affect me too much if I'm sitting up, or I don't have to be totally straight up and down. I can have it reclined a little bit, and then I can sleep. But otherwise, it's very painful. Well, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for being here. It looks like we have 164 viewers at the moment. We will see you tomorrow with something else.